I'm Faz, and today we're addressing a problem that has consistently challenged IELTS candidates. Why Band 7 in IELTS writing remains elusive despite strong language skills. IELTS Tuition has evaluated over 3,000 essays and guided more than 500 students to their target scores. And we are here to teach the specific strategy of IELTS success. What you will gain today is clarity, a clear understanding of the gap between good English and Band 7 English, and a practical roadmap to bridge that gap. We'll dissect the examiner's mindset, reveal the hidden penalties in the marking system, and show you exactly how to structure your preparation for maximum impact. Here's what we are going to do. Here's what we're going to cover in the next hour. First, I'll give you a quick overview of the IELTS exam structure, particularly focusing on the writing component. Then we'll dive into the most common pitfalls that students face, the mistakes that cost you band scores, even when your English is actually quite good. Next, and this is the really valuable part, we are going to look at a real student's writing task 2 response. I'm going to show you the actual examiner feedback, and we'll go through it line by line. I'll explain exactly why certain mistakes were flagged and how they impact your score. Finally, my colleague Nick will walk you through our study plans and packages so you can choose the right path for your preparation. Let's get started. What is IELTS? IELTS, which is the International English Language Testing System, measures your English ability across 4 skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Each skill is scored independently from Band 0 to Band 9, and your overall IELTS band score is the average of these 4 scores rounded to the nearest half band. There are 2 versions of the exam: IELTS Academic for university study and professional registration in English-speaking environments, IELTS General Training for migration, work experience, and training programs in countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. The structure is the same, but academic and general training differ in reading and writing content. Let me explain a bit more about these components. Listening test has 40 questions across 4 sections. Each recording is played only once. And as the test progresses, difficulty increases. Section 1 is more straightforward. Section 4 is more challenging due to academic pace, density of information, and specialized vocabulary. You have 30 minutes for listening and answering questions. Question types include multiple choice questions, matching information, plan, map, diagram labeling, form, note, table, flowchart completion, sentence completion, and short answer questions. You'll hear various accents throughout the test: British, Australian, North American, and others, because IELTS is an international test that you need to demonstrate understanding of English as it's spoken globally. Reading. Reading test has 40 questions based on 3 long passages. You have exactly 60 minutes. There's no extra time, transfer time like in listening. For IELTS Academic, you have 3 passages from books, journals, magazines, and newspapers. They're academic in tone, but written for non-specialist audiences. Topics span across art, sciences, humanities, and social sciences. At least one passage will contain detailed logical argument. You might encounter descriptive texts, narrative, or discursive argumentative texts. For general training, The test is divided into 3 sections with increasing difficulty. Section 1, you have 2 or 3 short texts on everyday topics like advertisements, notices, timetables, or instruction manuals. Section 2, there are 2 texts related to work context like job descriptions, company policies, or training materials. And you have in section 3, you have 1 longer complex text on a general interest topic, similar in difficulty to academic passages. Just like listening paper, you have multiple choice, identifying information, identifying writer's view, matching information, heading, features, sentence ending type of questions. You have summary, note table, flowchart completion questions, diagram labeling, and short answer questions. Also understand that reading heavily tests paraphrasing and synonyms. Questions won't use exact same words as the passage. You need to recognize that different words can express the same idea. Now let's get into writing. Writing you need to complete writing in 60 minutes, and there are 2 tasks. Task 1 has approximately 20 minutes. Task 2 approximately 40 minutes. And task 2 is weighted more heavily in your final writing score. It counts for roughly 2/3, while task 1 counts for 1/3. So if you need to allocate extra time, spend it on task 2. For academic IELTS, you'll be presented with visual information, a graph, a table, a chart, diagram, or a map for task 1. And you must describe, summarize, or explain the information in your own words. You might need to describe data trends, compare information, explain a process, or describe how something works or changes. In general training, you have to write a letter. For task 2, this is the same for both academic and general training. You will be given an opinion, argument, or a problem, and you must write an essay in response, and your essay must be in a formal academic style. Common task 2 question types include opinion essays, discussion essays, advantage and disadvantage essays, problem and solution essays. Moving on to speaking. Speaking test is a face-to-face interview with a certified IELTS examiner. It's recorded for monitoring and quality control purposes. This test has 3 parts. Part 1, which spans across 4 to 5 minutes, is the introduction and interview. Examiner will ask general questions about familiar topics like your home, family, work, studies, interests, daily routines, and hobbies. Part 2, which is also called the long haul, the examiner gives you a task card with the topic and prompts. You have 1 minute to prepare and make notes. Then you must speak continuously for 1 to 2 minutes. The examiner will ask 1 or 2 brief follow-up questions. Part 3, once again, spans across 4 to 5 minutes. This is a two-way discussion. The examiner asks more abstract questions related to Part 2 topics, testing your ability to discuss issues in depth, express and justify opinions, and analyze topics. Now, let me talk about some of the key exam logistics. Listening, reading, and writing are completed in one sitting with no long breaks. You arrive at a test center, check in, and complete these 3 sections consecutively. Total time is approximately 2 hours and 45 minutes. Speaking, on the other hand, is scheduled separately, either on the same day or before or after the other tests. You'll be notified of your speaking appointment time in advance. Here's something that catches many students off guard. You have strong English skills and still struggle to achieve band 7 plus in IELTS writing. Now, this is not about your English being not good enough. It is about understanding what IELTS writing actually tests. IELTS writing doesn't just test whether you can write correct English. It tests specific academic writing skills. For instance, can you take a clear defensible position on a complex issue? Can you develop arguments in depth with relevant to specific support? Can you use language with academic precision and appropriate register? Can you demonstrate control over sophisticated structures and avoid repetition? If you fail to meet these requirements, let's say, then that would cost you marks. This is why I say good English does not necessarily guarantee a good score. Students struggle to go beyond the 6 because their position isn't explicit enough, their ideas are stated but not fully explained, their language is correct but not precise, the examples are relevant but lack specific detail. Understanding the 4 marking criteria is the foundation of strategic preparation. These represent 4 distinct dimensions of assessment, each carrying equal 25% of weight. Now, let me explain what we look for when we mark. First is the task response. What is it? Task response evaluates how completely and precisely you address every aspect of the prompt. An examiner asks, did the candidate answer the specific question asked or a similar question they wished was asked? At band 7+, this means presenting a clear, definite position in your introduction, addressing all parts of the question equally. For instance, some people spend 80% on one part, developing ideas with specific relevant support, maintaining a position consistently throughout the essay, providing a conclusion that follows logically from your argument. I am focusing on writing task 2 when I am expressing with the examples that I'm bringing in at the moment. The second part that we look at is cohesion and coherence. This criterion evaluates the logical flow and structural integrity of your essay. Coherence refers to the overall sense. Does your essay make logical sense as a complete argument? Cohesion refers to the specific linguistic devices that connect your ideas. At band 7+, you must demonstrate clear logical paragraphing with one central idea per paragraph, seamless progression from introduction to conclusion, effective use of cohesive devices. Cohesive devices are transition words, pronoun reference, lexical cohesion, paragraphs that begin with clear topic sentences and develop logically. Then we also look at lexical resource. Lexical resource assesses your vocabulary range and, more importantly, your precision in word choice. Many candidates misunderstand this as using big words, but that's not accurate. What we are looking for at band 7+ level is sufficient range of vocabulary to discuss the topic flexibly, precision in word choice. That means you are using exactly the right word for the context, awareness of collocation. Collocation means words that naturally go together, appropriate style and register. So since we are focusing on academic writing, you need to avoid informal expressions. Some use of less common lexical items with awareness of style, occasional minor errors in word choices or collocations are acceptable. The next that we will look at is grammar range and accuracy, and this evaluates both the variety of your grammatical structures and your control over them. Now, this does not mean that you write a perfect answer, but because inevitably you will make errors, but in level 7 and plus, it will be fewer, very less in other words. A mix of, so at band 7+, what you need is a mix of simple and complex sentence structures, generally accurate grammar with occasional errors, good control over complex structures, even if with occasional faults, no systematic errors that impede communication, variety in sentence structure that demonstrate flexibility. Now, these 4 criteria operate independently. Your final score is an average, but a serious weakness in any one criterion creates a hard ceiling. For example, if your task response is consistently at band 6, even perfect band 9 grammar and vocabulary cannot lift your overall score beyond approximately band 6.5. The system is designed to ensure balanced proficiency across all 4 dimensions. Now that you understand how writing is marked, let me walk you through the most common pitfalls I see students make. These are the mistakes that cost you band scores, but the good news is these are not unfixable. They're all fixable once you are aware of them. Pitfall number 1 is unclear opinion. What do I mean by this? This is probably the number 1 issue. Students in academic writing task 2 avoid taking a clear position, and this can cost you marks. This will cost you marks, I'm sorry, when you don't clearly state which side you support or what your opinion is. The examiner has to guess. And if we have to guess, that's a problem for your task response score. So remember, the task explicitly asks for your opinion if it is a discussion question like discuss both views and provide your opinion. You must give it. You can discuss both sides, absolutely, but your position needs to be crystal clear, usually stated in your introduction, reinforced in your conclusion. Pitfall number 2, ideas are too shallow. What do I mean by this? Now, you provide ideas that are relevant, but they're not developed enough. They're not developed enough to sound academic. So you might make a shallow comment, but you're not going beyond that. You're not saying how or why it matters. And you're not providing specific examples or evidence. So ideas need depth. They need explanation, elaboration, and support. Pitfall number 3 is language isn't precise. What do I mean by this? Students often use vocabulary that's understandable but lacks academic accuracy. So you might tend to use words that are colloquial instead of, it might not sound academic. It might make your writing conversational. This, so simple words, you might not take it seriously, but they matter. So precision in language, might play a big role in deciding what you're going to score, whether it's a band 6 or band 7 above. Finally, what you need to understand is that small errors add up. Repeated errors reduce examiner confidence. 1 or 2 spelling mistakes, not a huge deal. But if you continuously make the mistake, spelling errors or grammatical errors multiple times throughout your essay, it tells me that you are not proofreading carefully. It tells me that you have issues in writing. These errors accumulate and they hurt your lexical resource and grammar score. So the key takeaway here is that small mistakes might seem minor individually, but they repeat across your essay means they signal to the examiner that you lack control over your writing. And control is what we are looking for at band 7 and above. Now we come to the most valuable part of today's session. I'm going to show you a real writing task from one of our students called Rohan Mehta. This is an actual response, and I'm going to walk you through the examiner feedback line by line. Rohan's overall band score for this mock was band 7. And you can notice that what's pulling his overall score down is writing. It's a 6. And when we look at his writing task 2, we'll see exactly why. First, let's look at the question Rohan had to respond to. Some people believe that governments should heavily invest in public healthcare system to provide free medical care for all citizens, while others argue that individuals should take more responsibility for their own health. Then it says, discuss both views and give your opinion. Before looking at Rohan's answer, let me show you how to properly interpret this question. Let's identify the instruction words. Discuss both views. This means you must present both perspectives fairly and objectively. You cannot ignore one side or only briefly mention it. Then it says, give your opinion. This means you must clearly state which view you support and explain why. This is not optional. You have to give your opinion because it's part of the task. So what do? You understand the two views. The first view is government should invest heavily in public health care to provide free medical care for all citizens. The second view is individuals should take more responsibility for their own health. Before you start writing, you must decide which view do you support more strongly, or do you believe in a middle ground? If you choose a middle ground, you must articulate a specific defendable position. You just cannot say both are important. You need to explain how they should work together and why one might be more important than the other in certain contexts. Then you plan your essay. A typical strong structure for this type of question is your introduction will always paraphrase the question and clearly state your position. You'll have 2 body paragraphs. Body paragraph 1 will be discussing the first view, in this case, government investment. You will explain the reasoning, provide examples, analyze implications. In body paragraph 2, you will be discussing the second view, here individual responsibility, and explain the reasoning, provide examples, analyze implications, right? And let's say if you want to favor one side, present the opposing view fairly and explain its merits, present your main argument, the view you support with stronger development, more examples and deeper analysis, and you can write a conclusion where you restate your clear position with justification showing why your view is strong. Now let's see how Rohan has approached this task. In his introduction, he says, healthcare is becoming an important topic in many countries these days. Some people think the government should spend more money to make healthcare free for everyone, while others believe that individuals should take care of their own. My first comment here is these days. Now, this is slightly informal, and I have suggested to consider in recent years or currently. It's here. So these days is conversational language. You would use it when speaking to a friend. I've been really busy these days. But in writing, we need more formal expressions like in recent years, currently, or in contemporary society. So this is an example of what we discussed earlier, pitfall number 3, language that seems fine but isn't appropriate for academic register. This is not grammatically wrong, but it signals to me as an examiner that the student is writing conversationally rather than academically. Let's look at the second mistake. Take care of their own health. Now, the comment says could be more precise about take care of their own health, take greater responsibility for their own health. What do I mean by this? The original question uses the phrase take more responsibility. It's here. Can you see? Yeah. So we need to assert this idea, right? So when you're paraphrasing, you should match the formality and precision of the original. Take care of is very vague and casual. Take greater responsibility or assume responsibility is more precise and academic. And also, if you notice Rohan's introduction, Rohan has paraphrased the question, which is good, but he hasn't stated his own opinion. His introduction simply restates what the question says without indicating his position. Now let's move on to the second paragraph. That is his first body paragraph. When governments spend more on public health care, it helps a large number of people to get medical treatment without paying too much. This is especially useful for poor families who cannot go to private hospitals. In many countries, the cost of medicine and doctors is very high, and this makes people avoid visiting hospitals. Free healthcare can make it easier for everyone to stay healthy and live a better life. And for example, in Canada, people can go to hospital without paying directly, which can help them when they are sick. He consistently makes spelling errors with words like government and healthcare. Now, one thing is that these are not very difficult words. The other thing is these spelling errors are consistent in his essay. And that is what is concerning. Spelling errors appear multiple times, and this is a classic example of pitfall number 4, repeated errors. Like I told you, one spelling mistake might be overlooked as a typo, but when the same word is misspelled consistently, it tells the examiner the student doesn't actually know how to spell it. Now, this definitely damages the grammatical range and accuracy score. Then I have flagged paying too much. The comment is, facing high costs would be more precise academically. Like I told you before, he tends to be conversational. Paying too much is colloquial. In academic writing, we'd say facing high costs, experiencing financial burdens, or confronting significant expenses. Now, this is another example that supports the idea that we explained in pitfall number 3, imprecise language that's too casual for academic writing. Now, the next mistake he's made is the cost of medicine and doctors. He's making an error in collocations. In English, we don't typically say cost of doctors. Doctors provide services. We pay for consultations or appointments. So the natural collocations would be the cost of medical consultations, the cost of doctors' appointments, healthcare costs, medical expenses. Now, cost of doctors sound like you're purchasing doctors themselves, which creates an awkward, unnatural phrase. This signals me as an examiner that the student doesn't have full control of natural English collocations, right? Next mistake he's made is And this makes people avoid visiting hospitals. Sounds colloquial. Use which courses or split it into two sentences is my suggestion so that it will read better. So, and this makes people is stylistically weak, although it's grammatically correct for academic writing. And the vague pronoun this could refer to multiple things in the previous sentence. So how can we make it sound better? I've said here I've said split it into two sentences. So we can say healthcare is expensive. That's one sentence. And then we can say consequently, many people delay or avoid visiting hospitals. That's very clear, makes sense, sounds more academic, and it flows better. So this mistake is about cohesion and coherence. And uh, therefore, what you need to understand is you need to make sure your sentences flow smoothly and connections between ideas are clear. Here, I have flagged hospitals. In the original answer, he had not added an S. He said make public hospital, right? So hospitals are misspelled and it is also grammatically incorrect. So there are two issues here, right? He's making careless spelling errors and he's also making a grammatical error. And if you look at this sentence fully, I'm sorry, uh, it's here, hospitals. In Canada, people can go to hospitals without paying directly. So here he's made a grammatical error and a spelling mistakes. And then he says, for example, in Canada, people can go to hospitals without paying directly, which can help them when they are sick. This clause is redundant, which can help them when they are sick. What do I mean by that? This is an example of stating the obvious and adding unnecessary words. Of course, hospital help people when they're sick. That's their purpose, isn't it? So this clause doesn't add any information or insight. So this mistake touches on pitfall number 2, shallow development. Rohan mentions Canada as an example, but he doesn't explain what the actual outcomes or benefits of Canada's systems are. He just states the fact that it exists. Now let's look at Rohan's second body paragraph. Some people say that individuals should be responsible for their own health. Many health problems are caused by bad lifestyle habits, such as eating fast food, not doing exercises, or smoking. If people continue such unhealthy behaviors, it is not fair to expect the government to pay for their treatment. This situation can also make public hospitals too busy and waste government money. Therefore, people need to think about their daily choices and try to be healthy. Now, here, what I first commented on is this bad lifestyle habits. I mean, you would not disagree with me when I say bad is a very general, somewhat childish adjective. And this is an academic writing task. So I would advise it is necessary to avoid adjectives like this and use more precise descriptors. Examples that I've given are poor lifestyle choices, unhealthy behaviors, detrimental habits. Now, detrimental and bad, you can see the distance between the two words in terms of formality, harmful lifestyle patterns, right? So what you need to understand is academic writing requires more nuanced vocabulary. And then I have flagged not doing exercise. Let me explain it a bit here. Now, this is a word formation error. The correct form is not exercising or lack of exercise. So this falls under grammatical error because in English, after not, we typically use the gerund form, that is the ing form, when referring to activities. So we should use not exercising, failing to exercise, right? Alternatively, we can use noun phrases: lack of exercise, insufficient physical activity, sedentary lifestyle. Now that I've explained it, you can understand not doing exercise is grammatically awkward, while doing exercise is acceptable in spoken English. It is not natural in formal writing. We would say exercising regularly or engaging in physical activity. The next mistake is make public hospitals too busy and waste government money. Now, this is a parallel structure error, right? When you connect two items with and, they should have the same grammatical structure. Current structure says make hospitals too busy, which is adjectival phrase, which is followed by waste money, which is a verb phrase. Now, these don't match grammatically, so the sentence is unbalanced. I have given some examples of corrected options. It's here. Make public hospitals overcrowded and waste government money. Can you see? Both start with verbs, so it's verb phrases. Overcrowd public hospitals and waste government money. Both have verb and object structure. Or again, you have verb phrases with similar structure: burden public hospitals, waste government resources. So when you are using two sentences connected with and, you need to make sure that they tally grammatically. You can see government and hospitals are misspelled again and again. So if I repeat the comment, that's going to be rather redundant because I have explained it over and over again. Fine. Then in the second paragraph, he ends with, therefore, people need to think more about their daily choices and try to be healthy, right? Again, that is something to do with the register. It's colloquial. Better to say, maintain healthier lifestyle. It sounds better in academic writing. Let's look at Rohan's conclusion now. In conclusion, healthcare is important. Healthcare is an important issue and both sides have reasons. The government should continue to support healthcare for the public, and at the same time, people should make better decisions about their health to reduce their problems. Now, there is a major issue here. The opinion is somewhat unclear. Does Rohan favor one side more? Because the prompt asks for your opinion, and that is not clearly stated here. So this is the example of pitfall number 1, unclear opinion. So if you are to analyze what Rohan has written, Rohan says both sides have reasons. This is diplomatic, but says nothing about his position. Then he says the government should continue to support the healthcare for public. That suggests some government role. And at the same time, people should make better decisions about their health to reduce their problem, which suggests individual responsibility too. But you can also see what I'm trying to get at. I can't determine which view Rohan actually supports more strongly. Does he think government investment is more important? Does he think individual responsibility is more important? Does he think they are equally important? because the task explicitly asks, give your opinion. This means I need to identify a clear defensible position in the candidate's writing. A balanced conclusion that says both sides are valid does not fulfill this requirement. Rohan's conclusion, therefore, is a textbook example of a somewhat unclear position. He's trying to be balanced and fair, which seems reasonable, but it doesn't answer what the task requires. This single issue, the unclear opinion in the conclusion, is what caps his task response at band 6, which significantly lowers his overall writing score. Now let's look at the overall feedback. It says your essay demonstrates a clear structure and addresses both perspectives required by the task. You've organized your response logically with an introduction, two body paragraphs, and a conclusion. But then there's a summary of major issues. Spelling errors are frequent and noticeable throughout your essay. So multiple spelling mistakes of basic words appearing throughout the essay creates a pattern that damages lexical scope. The next is your position on the issue is not sufficiently clear. As I explained just right before this, this is the biggest issue. The task asks for Rohan's opinion, but his conclusion doesn't clearly state which side he supports, and this seriously weakens his task response score and can cap his overall band. Additionally, your ideas require fully development. Ideas that Rohan has presented are relevant but superficial. We looked at the Canada example up here. I'm just taking you through it again. For example, in Canada, people can go to hospitals without paying directly, which can help them when they're sick. So it lacks specific detail, explanation, and concrete evidence. And this prevents the essay from reaching band 7 plus depth. Finally, language precision and awkward collocations. Awkward collocations, word formation errors, and missing articles show a lack of academic precision in Rohan's language use. And if I am to walk you through the marked answer, we can you can clearly understand that these 4 fallbacks are what separate Rohan's band 6 essay from a band 7 plus response. So with the detailed examiner feedback, which shows exactly where he went wrong, we also provide you with the model answer scoring band 8 plus for the exact same question, which means you can see side by side what a band 6 response looks like versus what a band 8 plus response looks like, using the same topic, the same task, addressing the same question. You can see the difference in language precision, opinion clarity, and depth of the argumentation. This is incredibly powerful for learning because you're not just being told what's wrong, you're also being shown what right looks like. So from this, what you need to understand is that you should know the technicalities of sentence structuring, collocations, formal versus informal language, academic precision. And there are many more technicalities that comes under all of these 4 skills that you are tested on. So if you don't have this knowledge, you need proper guidance where these skills are specifically taught, which is exactly what our tutorials provide. Now, I will hand this over to my colleague Nick to explain what our study plans and packages are.
Thank you, Faz. Thank you very much for that evaluation. I hope everyone who joined this session gained an in-depth understanding of what they are supposed to achieve in order to score a 7 plus band score for writing. Okay. All right. So most of you last week were asking me about how you should conduct your preparations and what your study plan should be. Some of you who joined a call last week via WhatsApp was asking whether you need to spend something like 3 to 6 months for preparations, which is never going to be the case. You can alternatively conduct all your preparations within just 2 to 6 weeks. So let's look at what these three study plans look like. So you can access these study plans via our website itself. So if you want to take your IELTS exam extremely fast within the upcoming 2 or 3 weeks, you can opt for the 2-week intensive plan. However, it is going to be a tough situation because you need to put in a lot of effort on a weekly basis, since you are planning to complete all your studies within just 2 weeks. So in the first week, you are supposed to dedicate 24 hours of your time for IELTS preparation. And in the second week, you are supposed to dedicate 17 hours of your study time. And alternatively, you have the option of conducting preparations within just 4 weeks, which is considered as a balanced approach. And majority of our students go for this option because then you can be conversant with everything tied to IELTS, conduct, watch tutorials, carry out or practice activities to test your knowledge, attempt mock exams, and seek tutor feedback. You can do all these things within just 4 weeks by dedicating just 11 to 13 hours of study time per week. And if you have a lot of time on your hands, simply go for the 6-week comprehensive option. So under the 6-week option, since you have a lot of time, you can conduct your preparations in a stress-free environment. You simply need to dedicate just 7 hours of study time on a weekly basis. So you can opt for your preferred study method by gaining access to these 3 study plans, which are accessible via our website. And talking about what we offer, Faz, if you can take us to the pricing section. All right, so we offer 3 packages, the Starter, Pro, and Premium. The Starter package is focused on those who have already learned the technicalities behind the IELTS examination. So since you have already learned all the technicalities right before walking into the examination, it's best to test where you stand as a student, as well as what your band score is going to look like. So if you want to attempt a full mock exam under exam conditions via our exam platform, which is the exact replica of the IELTS exam platform which you'd use at your real examination, simply invest on the starter package. And also the starter package comes with full-length tutor feedback. You saw the type of feedback on offer at IELTS Tuition. So you can benefit from in-depth feedback provided by our tutors by simply investing £29 and purchasing the starter package. And also talking about the Pro package, if you have knowledge gaps, if you don't know the technicalities behind the IELTS exam, if you couldn't understand half of the technical elements which Faz was talking about when taking you through the writing answer script, then you should go for the Pro package. Because via this package, you will gain access to 50 plus video tutorials via which you are going to understand and learn the technicalities behind each pillar: listening, writing, reading, and speaking. And on top of that, you have access to 180 plus practice questions, all to be attempted under real exam conditions via our exam platform. You also have access to 4 reading mock exams and 4 listening mock exams. So you have the opportunity of learning, practicing, as well as attempting mock exams under exam conditions, which will significantly improve your practice, improve your knowledge levels, which will ensure that you achieve your preferred band score easily. And talking about Premium, this is intended for those who want to achieve a 7+ band score, or those who are repeating the examination. So the answer script which Faz took you through is in terms of a repeater. So if you are repeating the exam, given the fact that you cannot go beyond 6.5, especially concerning writing, then you should opt for Premium. By doing so, you will gain access to the same type of resources available under Pro, And additionally, you will get access to some additional mock exams and 2 full-length mock exams along with tutor feedback, so that you have the option or the ability or the opportunity to attempt each mock exam under exam conditions, get an understanding of what your shortcomings are, because when you understand your shortcomings, you can take steps to overcome them when preparing for your second mock exam. So the same student who ended up scoring just 6 for writing in mock exam 1 ended up scoring 7.5 in the second mock exam, and in the real exam as well ended up scoring a similar band score. So you can achieve a similar feat if you invest on premium, and the premium course comes with band score guarantee as well. So if you invest on premium and end up not achieving your preferred band score, you need not worry. We will extend your access for a further 6 weeks, so that you can you have some additional time to improve your skill set. So you can invest on either of these packages by clicking on the select plan button. And before you invest on either of these packages, I invite you to create a free user account and make use of the free resources, which can be accessed via our student dashboard. So under the study material tab, you will gain access to the free resources, which are divided into phases. So our study process is divided into phases. In each phase, you will gain access to tutorials and the relevant or attached activities. And on top of that, as you can see, you have access to 2 mini mocks free of charge under listening as well as under reading. Similarly, you have access to 2 mock exams once more free of charge. So make use of these free resources on offer. Get your bearings with how we conduct our study process, how beneficial it is for your preparations. And once you trust us, then invest on your preferred course. So having said that, I'm moving to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop us a message by simply dropping a message on our chat. Any questions, folks?